On today's program, we visit the Western Wall and learn why it is significant. David Silver and life in Israel as Jewish Christian believers. We learn about ancient artifacts found in Capernaum. We hear from ICEJ board member Pastor Teck. Second Chronicles chapter 3 verses 1 and 2. Then Solomon began to build the house of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to David his father, at the place that David had appointed, on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. He began to build in the 2nd month of the 4th year of his reign.
Well, we're at the very place here in Jerusalem, the place where God said he would choose to put his name. This is his dwelling place. And this city, in 1996, when I first visited here, Matty, Jerusalem was celebrating its 3,000th birthday.
Yeah.
How old is that? I mean, what? And then when you look at our combined Bibles, the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible, there's about 1,000 references to Jerusalem, about 669 in the Hebrew Bible, and about 146 in the New Testament. And then if you look at Zion, that also makes reference to not only Israel, but to Jerusalem as well. But 1,000 references to that. And in the Quran, there isn't one mention of Jerusalem. So the significance to the Jewish people is quite clear here.
Definitely.
So would you explain to us about what we're looking at here?
Yes, of course. Before that, I think that we have to mention the city of David,
The
which
city
is
of David.
another point of reference. The most ancient one, Jerusalem, began there, approximately 1,000 years BC, when King David conquered this area. 30, 40 years after that, King Solomon, his son, built in this part of the hill the first temple.
And the hill is?
The Temple Mount, of course.
And it's based on the Mount, Moriah.
The Mount Moriah, of course.
Right, okay.
Of course. What we are facing here today is part of only one segment of what King Herod constructed here 1,000 years after King David, approximately in the year 2730 BC. It was actually one of the most important and amazing structures in the whole world. In order for Herod the Great to rebuild again the second temple, what he needed to do is actually, I can use my hand to demonstrate, he built 4 walls around it, and another one in the north. This is the 4 parts of the wall, and then he put a lot of stones and filled everything inside to make like a very big plateau. Over it, he constructed, among many things, the second temple. What we are facing here today is one of these walls, the western wall, which is, according to many beliefs, the most close to the second temple. And because of that, since the year 70, when Titus destroyed it, and until today, it is the holiest place on earth for Jews.
Well, it's the Holy of Holies, would be the very holy,
it's the most
holy
of
the temple. So that is in that proximity. And so the men go on the left and the women on the right,
Yes,
and twice a week there's bar mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs here and Shabbat.
Yes. As we can see, the big stones that we can see are Herodian from the ancient times, but what we can see above them are stones that the Arabs, the Muslims, built here much later. It is only one segment of 488 meters longitude of this wall, and of course But we have to remember that according to many investigators, the wall was 40 meters high. Today we can go down and see
the tunnels.
The
tunnels are fascinating.
Yeah.
And right below here, we can see the Davidson Center, which when you come here to Israel, you can go and see a replication of what the temple looked like during that time period.
Yes.
And then there's the Robinson's Arch.
Over there, yes.
Where you can see the base of it.
Yes.
And then the shops, the market would be at the foot of the Robinson's
Of the rocks over there,
Arch.
right.
Up next, David Silver and life in Israel as Jewish Christian believers.
So, Brother David, let's talk a little bit about what God is doing right now in Israel. You're part of a congregation and you're helping lead in the land. Where, that's in Haifa or in Carmel?
Yeah, currently we attend Kehilata Carmel or Carmel Assembly. It's a congregation that really came out of Times Square Church in New York, and it actually began as a drug rehab. And the guy, the pastor who founded, Pastor David Davis, he was really a disciple of David Wilkinson. So they sent him out to Israel with his Jewish wife, and they began a drug work in downtown Haifa called Beit Nitzachon, or House of Victory.
Wow.
And it's probably the most successful rehab center in the country because, of course, the Bible's in it and God's in it. And what they did is they began to get these drug addicts, Arabs, Jews, Russians, and they started part of their program was a Wednesday night Bible study. And they started doing that. And other believers who were going to other congregations started to hear about this Bible study. They started going to the Bible study. And of course, it outgrew the little facility. So they moved up into this Arab village called Isafia, up on top of Mount Carmel. And we began in a little chapel there on top of an Anglican church, like a conference center. So we were up there in the chapel, and then we outgrew the chapel, and we had to meet down in the dining room area, which was much bigger. We outgrew that. And then the church, the Anglican ministry, gave us a part of the property up the back area, and we actually, the congregation built their own facility there.
Oh, praise God.
It's well known around the world. David Davis, his wife Karen Davis, is a well-known worship leader. She's got 3 or 4 CDs out, and we have a lot of visitors come by. Not as many as we'd like, but we have a whole third of our sanctuary roped off for visitors on Shabbat, and they do come.
Wonderful.
And up until about 7 or 8 years ago, most of the visitors were Europeans, Canadians, Americans, a few from maybe down under. But over the last few years, God's been doing something amazing. And now I would say 80% of our visitors are now Asians.
Wow.
And so, they come, and one of our ministry focuses actually is to try to ensure that visiting groups connect, not just with our congregation, but just connect with a congregation and meet the believers.
So wonderful.
It's imperative that the visiting pilgrims meet with the local believers, and it's really true. I mean, because the tourist industry, the general secular tourist industry, resists that.
Right.
So what I tell people, because they've got their own program, right? And it's true. I believe it's true that time spent together worshiping with the saints in Israel, it'll be the highlight.
You know what? Every time for me, Brother David, I felt the presence of the Lord so strong as I met with the Messianic believers or even Arab believers together. So wonderful. Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit, because, things started small with the, Jews coming to Christ.
Sure.
Maybe what I could first ask is, some people might not understand the term Messianic. Could you define Messianic?
Messianic comes from the word Messiah, and that comes from the Hebrew word Mashiach, and that comes from the word limshach, to anoint. So really, Jesus Christ is not his name. His name is Yeshua, which means salvation. And if you wanted to say his name properly, you would say Jesus the Christ, or Jesus what you're really saying is Yeshua, or Jesus the anointed one, or HaMashiach in Hebrew. So really, what I'm saying in that is actually the word Christian and the word Messiah, it's exactly the same word, but in a different language. So Christian comes from Christos,
right?
Which kind of means it doesn't exactly mean anointed one, but it's as close as you can get in the Greek language. So basically, I am a Christian because I believe in the Messiah or the Christ, but I prefer to call myself, and most of us prefer to call ourselves Messianic Jews, or Hebrew. Some people say Hebrew Christians, but Messianic Jews or Messianic believers, because sadly, and I know it's part of ICEJ teaching, is that the history of the church in their behavior towards the Jewish people
stained with blood.
Our hands are stained with blood. Yeah, there's a book written about that, and you know, the sad indictment is that Jewish people have been safer in non-Christian countries than in Christian countries down through the ages.
Through the history,
You know, there was never a Holocaust in a non-Christian country, and Germany was supposedly a Christian country. So the term Messianic simply means someone who follows the Messiah, which the English version of that is Christ. So it's just semantics, but it's more comfortable. And of course, when we introduce ourselves, particularly to other Jewish people, when we're sharing, it's easy to say I'm a Messianic.
Yeah, ani Meshichi.
And they know what that means. And even to say, you know, when you say Jesus, immediately they think of the Crusaders.
Right.
But when you say Yeshua to a Jewish person, it means salvation. They immediately know you're talking about salvation.
Wow, wonderful. So it was originally a small movement, but I've heard the numbers have grown over the years.
I wanted to mention that in this segment. It's amazing. You know, 1967, let me take you to 1967. And 67 is a major point on God's program. 1948 was the one before. Of course, that was the restoration of Israel, which was a miracle. But in 1967, we had that miracle Six-Day War. Yeah, I mean, you know, Israel was attacked by three large armies, and at the same time. And we cleaned the first army up on the second day. We cleaned up the second army on the fourth day.
Wow.
And by the sixth day, it was all over. So two things that happened, well, at least two things happened as a result of that war and the outcome. Number one, we got Jerusalem back as our divided capital city, which is really a necessity for the coming of the kingdom.
Absolutely.
But the other thing that happened is, I believe that a spirit was released from heaven. And up until that point of time, the number of Messianic Jews around the world was just an absolute remnant. And if you read testimonies of people that were believers before that time, most of them say the same thing. They say, I thought I was the only Messianic Jew in the world.
The only one?
Because they were so few and far apart, they never met another one. Now, that was 51, 52 years ago.
Right.
Today in Israel, there are close to 300 Messianic congregations. Congregations, yeah. There's at least 650 to 700 around the world.
Yes.
And encyclopedias are quoting anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million Jews who know they're Jews, who are believers in Yeshua today.
Wow.
And I believe that, you know, one of my messages is the times of the signs. And I believe we're living in a time when we can see clear signs that we are living in the end times. And I believe those statistics, the fact that Israel exists, the fact that 8 million Jewish people are back in the land, coming home at 1,000 a week and increasing, the number of congregations and the number of believers, and even the fact that some of us are coming back out to the nations now with the word of the Lord.
Right.
I believe they are very, very clear, biblical, prophesied signs that we truly are living in the end times.
It truly is, Brother David. Now, how do the general Israeli public, like how are Messianics received? You know, you mentioned a little bit, you know, using the term Messianic instead of Christian and so forth. But for example, there's many Messianics that have to come from other nations. And we may not have time in this segment to do that, but what's the general consensus now amongst the Israeli public?
Okay, in Israel, 20% of the public say they believe in God, and you've got liberals, conservatives, ultra-Orthodox. 80% don't. Now, I would say, generally speaking, most religious Jews don't like us. And the extreme is the ultra-Orthodox say we're worse than the Nazis because they think we're trying, you know, the Nazis killed the Jewish people physically, but they say when we try to bring a Jew to Yeshua, to the Messiah, we're killing their soul, which is totally not true.
Right.
But so that leaves the other 80% who are secular, and really they don't have a problem with us, and they actually like the Messianic Jews more than they like the Orthodox Jews.
Wow. Yeah.
And I mean, we have a testimony, and it's improving.
Yeah.
You know, we serve in the army, we pay our taxes, and you know, generally when Messianic Jews meet non-religious Jewish people in Israel, that we get on fine. They like us, and actually we do provoke them to jealousy.
Wow. Well, praise God. God is doing a work, Brother David. It's such a joy to hear that. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to continue our conversation.
Up next, a visit to Capernaum to learn about ancient artifacts.
So here in Capernaum, you can see that really in front. The decorations that were actually giving the beauty to the buildings were either geometrical designs or the 7 species, like the grapes or the pomegranates. And as we move on a bit, you can see here the Jewish star, Star of David. And if you move a little further to here, you can see something really unusual. Star of David next to Solomon's star. 2 different logos, 2 different presentations on the shield when they were going to war. So everybody remembers more the Star of David. And I would like you to look at the Star of David. You can look at my picture here, or you can look at the design here. And my question to you will be, how many triangles do you really see there? How many? 6? And I'm saying more than 6 and more than 8? 12. That is the answer. And the reason that I'm holding this in my hand, because you could see the names of the 12 tribes. When the people were wandering in the desert, they were not going like a group of people that didn't care, or in a convoy that had no order. They had a position for each tribe. The Levi tribe was going in the middle because they were carrying the tabernacle, and the rest of the tribes were all around. And if you will be interested later on the bus, I can pass it and you can take a close picture, because I have it written in English. So every tribe knew their position, and it's even described in the Bible very, very carefully. This is your unique opportunity to see a Holy Ark on wheels. The Holy Ark is the book closet of the temple, of the synagogue. And you could see wheels. So it's like a book closet on wheels that you can buy in IKEA or what. And the custom was that once prayer started, they would move the book closet and it blocked the door. And they were praying towards that book closet because the door always faced Jerusalem. In Canada, you will tell me the Jews are always praying to the east. Because if you have Jewish friends or you're going to the synagogue, you know that. But we have people here from the Far East.
That's true.
When Jews are praying there, they would pray towards the west.
That's right.
But the rule is Jerusalem. So if I'll take you to the synagogue in Masada, which is south to Jerusalem, it will be facing north. And here it is facing south. And what is the rule in Jerusalem? Facing the western wall.
Up next, ICEJ board member Pastor Teck.
Well, I'm Pastor Teck, and I'm the pastor of the Friends of Jesus Christ Canada. In the church, we have 2 visions. One is a free Bible ministry, and the other one is Israel ministry. And in the Israel ministry, we pursue it with our annual pilgrimage to Israel. And then we also have an event called Israel Rejoicing at the park in Toronto. And this is how we pursue this vision. And our love for Israel started years ago when I've been hearing about Israel. But you hear something and then you read, and sometimes it doesn't match. And so what I did was to go up to Jerusalem. And then that was my first trip, and that was during the Feast of Tabernacles. and I got in love with Israel. See, it's something to see the land. And then, people go up there and they talk about this and that because they were just touring. But in the case of ICEJ, I call it's a pilgrimage because you go up there not just to see the land. Well, part of it, we have a tour of the land. But because we go there to worship, so it's more of a pilgrimage. And that prompted me to just reconsider my priorities. So I set that as my priority every year. So since then, more than 20 years ago, every year we go up to Jerusalem for the Feast of Tabernacles. And, we've been bringing people, members of our church, and same thing, same experience. They want to go back. Because again, it's something to connect with God in the land. And that's why they were saying that, when you're in Jerusalem, you know what? It's a local call. See, God is there. Over here, it's a long distance call. And so that's how they say it. And I truly believe, because over there, it's because you're in the land. You see where Jesus had ministered. We walked the same street that he walked. And it's so, the Bible comes alive. And because of that, even when you pray, it's something, it's so close to you. God is so close to you that you can just express your thoughts and those things. So that's been our ministry. And over in Toronto, because of that too, because of the experience, because during the Feast of Tabernacles, we have all kinds of songs and dances. And so we learned some of the songs at the beginning. And then through the years, we learned more. And we want to share the joy. So when we came back, we started doing the dancing and the singing Hebrew songs and Hebrew folk dances. So we started it in our church. And then we said, why not share it with the Jewish community? And so that's how we started our Israel Rejoicing. And it's our 19th year, last August, for our Israel Rejoicing. And a lot of Jews are coming. See, they enjoy it. Because, again, we sing Hebrew songs. And then the representative of the consulate said that, you pronounce the word better than most Jews in Toronto, though. Yeah. Because, again, it's so good, singing it from your heart. And so we have those. We sing, we dance, Hebrew songs, and that's how we bless the Jews here in Canada. And I pray that we can continue on doing this. And it's a one way of reaching out to them, encouraging them, because we are commanded to comfort God's people. How else can you comfort someone but to bring joy? And so because of that, see, we continue to learn more songs and dances because we cannot sing the same song every year. They get bored, or that's the same dance, they get bored. And so we try to learn, add some more new ones, and through the years, now we have a lot of dances and songs. And so that's our ministry. Praise the Lord.
We conclude our program today with some sights and sounds within Israel.
What do you think?
It's great. I've had it before. They take the whole fish and they deep fry it. Oh, that's so, yeah. How about the eyes, Tim?
Yeah, my mom used to. I got it. And then you get this.
Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to visit our website at www.icejcanada.tv or call us at 1-866-324-9133. And for our Canadian residents, you can ask for your free Canada Israel pin. Through your contribution to ICEJ Canada, you can participate by giving to Haifa Home for Holocaust Survivors, Women at Risk Red Carpet Project, Operation Life Shield, Bomb-Proof Shelters, Mentoring Program, Alias Support, Children's Projects, Israel in Crisis, Israel Aid, Magan David Adom Emergency Services, Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, Scholarship Program for Young Adult Leaders, ICEJ Canada Media, Gift Estate Security Funds. Celebrate Prepare the Way Feast of Tabernacles, ICEJ's 40th anniversary in Jerusalem this year. Join ICEJ Canada for the following options. Option 1. Celebrate Prepare the Way Feast of Tabernacles in Jerusalem, September 30th to October 9th. Opening night in Engedi, Garden Tomb, Communion. Join Canadians in the Jerusalem March. Hear world-renowned speakers. Special dedication of a bomb shelter in the Galilee. Or join us for Option 2, the 40th Anniversary Tour, October 6th to the 14th. Experience Caesarea, Mount Carmel, Galilee Boat Ride, Capernaum, the Golan Heights, Nazareth, the Dead Sea, Jerusalem, and so much more. You can choose to join us for the first week, September 30th to October 9th, for the Feast of Tabernacles celebration and activities in Jerusalem, or second week of touring, October 6th to the 14th, or best of all, both weeks. Contact us now for details while there is still space at info@icejcanada.org or call 1-866-324-9133. Join ICEJ Canada this year in Israel.